Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm here solo for a couple different reasons. So the first one is that Kat and I actually now live in different cities. We are going to try to produce content both together and separately. So work with us a little bit, but you will be seeing content from both of us, which we're super excited for. And also I am here to tell my coming out story. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a little while now. I've been pretty nervous to do so, but I'm excited and I'm here to share. And yeah, out of respect for some of the people in my life, I won't be going into details or specifics about everything. My story is quite a journey. There's still some people in my life who have not accepted me for who I am, and I'm still being patient with that. But out of respect for both myself and for them, I am going to get into this story. Try not to delve into too many details, just kind of tell you the stuff you need to know. I grew up in a small town of Vineland, Ontario. It's a great small town, but I think it also left me sheltered from things. I guess my story starts all the way back when I was in elementary school. It was grade 7, and someone in my class started a rumor about me, saying that I was a lesbian, saying that I was in love with my best friend at the time. There was a rumor going around about me that I had kissed a girl, or I think I was in grade 8. But I got super defensive. 1, because it didn't happen, and 2, because I had never heard lesbian before. The only way that I really heard it was in a negative way. I also grew up in a church community. My mom worked at a church for 14 years, so it was just a term that was not used. Then I got to high school and I was in 2 long-term relationships with males. But that same story that went around about me in grade 8 actually happened to me again with somebody else. It was kind of weird. I was always called a lesbian. If there was a TV character or, I don't know, anything in pop culture and there was like a lesbian, like I was always that person. And I didn't really understand it because I had been with guys before. Like I dated them, I've kissed them, and like I mean, I kissed a couple girls throughout high school, but it was never like that. It was like one of those drunk things that girls did at parties. So yeah, I did that. So it wasn't until I went to university that I was really opened up to, honestly, like a whole new world. So one, I joined the rugby team at Trent University, which was my first exposure to the LGBT plus community. In my first week of being at training camp, I heard and was informed that there was like 6 or 7 people on our team who were part of the LGBT community, including 2 of my coaches who were in relationships with women. It was so weird for me because like I was opened up to this new world. I was opened up to these new terms that like I wasn't really able to explore in my small town. So I was going into university, I was single. Me and my boyfriend of long term had just broken up before university. I really like just kind of had this fresh start, this open place to go. So it was November of my first year of university, so November 2013, that I started to notice that I was developing my first girl crush and I didn't know what was going on. I went to my laundry room in my dorm room because I didn't want anyone to hear me. I put on the dryer, paid $1.50 to put on the dryer, closed the door, and I FaceTimed my older sister. And I just cried my eyes out. And I said, Alana, like, I don't know what this is, but I'm starting to have a crush on this girl. I don't know if it's just because I think she's pretty or because I I don't know, I didn't know what it was. I was confused. And so we talked about it, and she was nothing but loving and accepting, and it was wonderful. After that, the other people I told were my bathroom mate in university, as well as the captain of my rugby team, who also happened to be part of the LGBT community. So I told them that I was developing this girl crush, and they were both super supportive of it. It was really good to talk to them about it, and honestly, like, had no judgment, and it was really great. And I was thankful to start to kind of build this core support group. Then things kind of stopped, so I just ignored it. I would go out to the bars and I would kiss guys, and I don't know, it just was something that I didn't talk about. Fast forward to January of 2014, I actually made the decision not to go back to Trent. I was going to complete my first year, but I was going to work and then go off to a school in Australia, a Christian school in Australia actually. I went home for the summer, and so this was summer of 2014. I went home and went out to the bar with one of my friends, and it was, I think it was her birthday. June was my best friend, Bailey, and so I went out with her, and I was very, very intoxicated, and we went to the washroom, and I cried and cried, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Bailey, I think I'm gay. I don't know what's going on. I think I like girls. I had a crush on a girl." Just kind of blurted everything out that I had been holding in, everything that felt so suppressed for many months. So that was a huge weight off my shoulders, and then the next day I just blew it off. I said I was just really drunk, I don't know what I was talking about, yada yada yada. So it did take me a while kind of to accept it. After that incident, yeah, I went through the summer talking about boys, even developing a crush on a boy or some sort of thing. I would tell my family, oh yeah, go on dates, all that kind of stuff. Fast forward to September 2014, I got a text or a phone call, I forget, from one of my good friends on the rugby team. They were all at training camp, and they just told me how much they missed me, how much they loved me. And I went to my mom that day and I said, "Mom, I think I want to go back to Trent." And she's like, "Before you make any rash decisions, you're going to talk to your counselor." So I booked an appointment, I went to my counselor, talked with her for an hour, figured, okay, yeah, my time at Trent isn't over, I need to go back to Trent. So 4 days before classes started, I quit my job, I enrolled in all the classes, texted my rugby coach, I asked her if I was still able to try out, and I packed up my bags and left. Looking back now, I was kind of running away from it because Trent was forcing me to confront questions about my sexuality that honestly I had been having my whole life. So then I was back at Trent and I started seeing a girl. This was really helpful in me, again, figuring myself out, because I had never been in a relationship with a girl. I had never really had feelings. I had faraway girl crushes, but I never really got to explore myself. I came out to my younger sister over Snapchat. She sent me a Snapchat and it was one of her friends, and he said, "Oh, I like girls," or something like that. My response was, "Yeah, me too." And then it was so funny because Madison's response was like, "I knew it," like all in caps. Like, it was just funny. And yeah, I came out to my younger sister over Snapchat. So that was awesome, that she was so accepting and gracious about it, and she didn't even question it. In November 2014, I also came out to two of my best friends, as well as my cousin. We were at a party and I told them I needed to talk to them, and I said, guys, I'm seeing a girl. And they loved me. We talked about it briefly, but it was no big deal. I don't think they were really surprised. I don't know if they just knew. It felt really good to start coming out to some of the people that were outside of my university community, and some of the people that were back home. Then I became more open in the Trent community with my rugby team. They knew I was seeing someone and totally loving and accepting. My coaches knew, that kind of stuff. So it was really just a loving community. But I knew at some point I needed to come out of my bubble and I needed to tell my parents. So this was one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life. It's terrifying, but it's so rewarding. So it was Christmas 2014, a Christmas that I will not forget. Both my sisters knew, and I knew that before I started dating this girl, I needed to tell my parents. I texted my mom before I came home from school, and I said, Mom, like, can we have a family meeting? I need to talk to you about something. I tried to like pull this all together. So I got home and my mom said, does this really need to be a family meeting? And I was like, what? Like, yeah, I want to talk to all of you guys. And she said, are you sure that it needs to be a family thing? And so I was on my way out the door to go meet a friend, and I was like, crap, she knows. Like, something must have happened. She must have seen it or heard it from someone in Peterborough. And I was so nervous, so I went out with my friend, came back, and I was like, you know what? I had actually written a letter for my parents to give to them, and so I went and got it, and I gave it to my mom, and I immediately ran downstairs to my bedroom, and I just laid in bed, shaking, nervous, crying, had no idea how she was going to respond. I think it was 10 or 15 minutes later, my mom came into my bed. She just grabbed me and she hugged me, and we cried, and she told me that she knew. She told me she loved me. She hadn't given the letter to my dad yet, and so I asked her to pass it along to him. So my mom passed the letter along to my dad. With my dad and I, it took a bit longer. I think because it took so long for me to figure myself out, I had to be patient with myself. It took me so long to get to the point of coming out to my parents that when you come out to your parents or your friends, it might take a little bit for them to understand. Not necessarily as long as it took for yourself to process it, but you have to understand that this is new information for them, and that sadly in the world we live in, there are ideals. Parents especially imagine their little girl or little boy or whatever growing up and getting married, having a family, which is all stuff that you can still do as part of the LGBT community, but it takes a little bit for them to readjust that in their minds, right? Because it takes a while for us too. We kind of have to reimagine what our life is going to look like. I think it's super important to be patient with yourself, but also be patient with the people that you're coming out to. So then, once I finally came out to my family, I felt comfortable that I could date and finally like be with this person. So then we're going to fast forward to June 2015 when I decided to come out to my grandparents. I'm not going to delve too much into this part of my story because it is still one that is being worked on. When I came out to them, I told them that I was a lesbian, which at the time I probably would have identified as bisexual because I was still working on things with myself, but sometimes through the older generation, the whole LGBTQ thing gets a little confused, and I had been with males, and I brought them to our family reunions, and I didn't want them to get the wrong idea or them to think, hey, well, you were with a guy, so why can't you just be with a guy? So I just came out as a lesbian. Really difficult to do. Our relationship definitely suffered from that, and I would say it's still suffering, so I'm not going to get too much into it. Fast forward, it was time to come out to my extended family, which both my parents' sides are really, really large. So my mom wrote an email to everyone because I just was not in the right place to come out and do that by myself. So thankfully, she helped me through that and stood up for me to some family members who were not accepting of it. There are still many who are still not accepting of who I am, and that's okay. That's something that I'm still working on, still trying to be patient. That was another big step, and now my family had finally known. I was pretty open about it over Facebook and everything, and it was really cool because on Christmas of 2015, a year after I came out, we celebrated with wine from the Niagara area called Chardonnay Gay, and we topped it with those rainbow strips. I don't know if you've ever seen them. We call them rainbow strippers, which is probably a very wrong term, but it was fitting. So it's like these rainbow bacon, gay bacon, I don't know what they call it nowadays. So I guess I could say that my final coming out really was like 2015, but I would say that my coming out story or coming out journey is actually one, as cliche as it sounds, that's an everyday thing. I don't necessarily look gay. In the LGBT community, people would probably call me femme. Kat calls me soft femme, soft butch, or soft tomboy or something like that. But I don't necessarily look part of the LGBT community, so coming out really is an everyday thing. When I go to the bar, when I start a new job, when I go to the doctor's office, I don't know, just all those little things that you constantly have to come out. I've definitely been way more open with my sexuality on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I have posted pictures of me and my partners on there. It wasn't really until my second relationship with a female that I became more open on social media. I definitely was able to find myself. My style was kind of changing a little bit. I was becoming like a little less femme and dressing up, but still compared to my partner, I looked very femme. It was really helpful to be able to post on social media and Facebook without worrying about that stuff. I have moved out of Peterborough now after 5 years, and I am a little terrified, so I actually moved back to my hometown for the time being. This is a place that really was a bubble for me, and now, not that I have to put myself back in that bubble, but I don't want to go back into that bubble. And you can't. Once the bubble has burst, you can't put yourself back into it. Being back in Niagara and fully being and feeling myself is something that is really important to me. I'm not going to be quiet about my sexuality. I'm not necessarily going to rub it in your face, but I am done being in the dark and being sheltered, because it's not fun there. It's not fun in the closet, and it's really hard. And I think the most important thing is to surround yourself with nothing but love and positivity, and those people who aren't accepting of who you are, I don't want them in my life. if they're not going to love me for who I am and love me for who I love. I think that's just, it's sad, and that's the world we live in. And fortunately, I'm lucky to live in Ontario, Canada, where LGBT stuff is legal, but there's a ton of places in our world that this is still not acceptable. And so I would be doing myself a disservice, as well as the people in those other parts of the world, if I didn't fully express who I am. So I'm me, I am gay, I am out, and as hard as it was, I'm so happy to be where I am now, and I don't think I would be who I am today if I hadn't have gone through everything that I did. It was a journey, it was a hard journey, it's still a journey, but I'm super thankful for the people in my life. I'm so thankful for the support that I've gotten from my family, the love that I've gotten from my family. I'm also really thankful for all the other supports I've had throughout my life. You guys rock. You guys have been my rocks, and I'm really thankful. I love you guys.